Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to San Francisco. We're going to begin our preparations for Flight PANAM 1 with a quick walk around. Checking the landing gear, making sure cargo hatches are secured. Nothing looks out of place with the engines or control surfaces. On the real 707, there are ducts on the nacelle cowling on each engine that open and close, and I have seen it is occasionally prudent to tap them should any objects from maintenance fall and be collected in the bottom of the nacelle cowling, where upon engine start they would promptly be ingested into the engine and promptly destroy it. Fortunately, our simulated Boeing 707 looks ready for flight. Good morning, gentlemen. It's time for our pre-flight briefing. This is flight PA1 to Honolulu, ongoing to Tokyo. We have no outstanding NOTAMs or bulletins at this time affecting departure. We've completed the walk around. Our departure runway will be runway 1 right. Our taxi route will be Alpha to Alpha 1. Our terrain obstacle notes is ships up to 150 feet above ground level on departure to the left or right. Our clearance is the Night 3 departure. It should take us out and right around the bay. Beautiful view of the city in Alcatraz and directly over the Golden Gate Bridge. Our performance settings on takeoff will be flaps 10. We have a calculated V speed for our takeoff weight of 262,000 pounds. V1 will be 132 knots, V rotate 136 knots, and our V2 best climb engine outspeed is 154 knots. Our transition altitude is 18,000 feet. Fuel on board today is 82,476,000 pounds. That should give us a potential flight time of 6 hours and 45 minutes on that fuel. The estimated block time for this flight is only 5 hours and 44 minutes. So at this time, unless there's any questions, we're going to begin the checklist for engine start. Good morning, San Francisco ground. This is Clipper 1 requesting push and start.
Here comes the pushback. Light them up. And we're disconnecting, so give me just a moment. And we're disconnected. Signal and pin on the right. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
Now that the engines are running, our flight management computer is loaded up. Our route is obviously San Francisco to Honolulu. Our legs page reflects our waypoints and the distances too. We'll select arrival when we are closer to Honolulu. San Francisco ground, Clipper PA1, taxi to runway 1 right via Alpha 1. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard PANAM 1 to Tokyo via Honolulu. We're looking forward to an on-time departure this morning. We just have a brief taxi to our runway. We hope you're all comfortable, and we thank you for joining us. Flight attendants, prepare for departure. Tower PANAM 1, holding short runway 1 right, requesting departure. Alright, flaps 10, right for lineup, speed brake retracted.
01 right, on runway 01 right.
We are on the correct runway, 01 right. Transponder on and lights are on. We're ready for takeoff. Takeoff power. Knots. V1, rotate. V2. Positive rate, you're up. Flap retract. ladies and gentlemen, we've reached our initial cruise altitude of 34,000 feet. This time you may feel free to unbuckle those seatbelts and move about the cabin. At this time, we're going to check our progress. You can see our final 2 waypoints, as well as the airport coming up on the display there for PH and L, and a top of descent indicated by the green marker. We need to complete our flight plan with an arrival. As you can see, our legs page terminates at the moment at the final waypoint. So we'll click departure arrival. Arrivals on the right hand side for PH and L. Kaina or Kaina 2 is our standard arrival. We are going to be taking an ILS approach. I believe it's 8 right. I need to go back and check my brief. Might be 8 left. And it is 8 left. So use the previous page button to get back there. And here we have ILS 08 left. Selected. And let's go back to check legs. Board. Alright, and we need to find from our plate where the star connects most logically to our current route. Alright, and looking at the plates, it looks like the connection from our current route onto the star is going to be through a waypoint called Neil, November Echo 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 Lima. So 3 E's instead of 2. And as you can see, there's no transition listed here for Neil, but from the chart, we'll go straight from our current course to Kaina. So we're not going to select either of those. They're currently in select, not there. Now they're activated because I've hit execute. You can actually see the discontinuity on the screen there displayed. So we're going to click legs. From Bida to Kaina is where Neil should go. Should we not need that, we would click here, move it up, and it would connect. That's not the case. We actually do have a waypoint. Neil. Execute that, and now we have a new discontinuity from Neil to Kaina, so we'll click beside Kaina. It's selected. Use previous page to go back. Click it there, and that basically grabbed everything and moved it up. And now we execute. There are no further discontinuities. And we'll take a little closer look at this when we begin our arrival briefing. Alright, at this time we're about 44 miles from our top of descent. It's time to begin our descent briefing. At the moment we're not within range to have our ATIS weather, so we're going to hold on that for the moment. We have installed our approach for the, let's check the chart, what this is called, Kina 2 Arrival. We've installed that, we've connected it, and already checked there are no discontinuities. The missed approach is set in here in our legs page. You can see after runway 08 left, if we go missed approach, we'll be heading out for this hold. And if we extend the range, you can see it on the map here. It's an incoherent blob, but when we're closer, you'll be able to see exactly what that approach is. Alright, our other items to set will be our bugs for headings, our brakes for landing, and as well as briefing our approach. After you've taken a moment to look at those charts, we're just about to complete our, or enter our official arrival here. Bida, Becan, or perhaps it's pronounced Bacon, to Neil, Kaina, Rabs, Makoa, and from Makoa, we are on to our ILS approach to runway 8 left. Our next waypoint will be Selleck, I assume as in Tom Selleck. Actually, I might have that backwards. Selleck might precede Makoa, so let's check our charts. Selleck is between Rabs and Makoa, so we need to check that in here. Ina, Rabs, Selleck is not reflected in this. I might go and add that. Always good to be sure that our charts agree with the preset FMC data. It's not always 100% the same. Alright, and let's go back and see. We've got 24 miles to top of descent, so we want to keep an eye on that. Alright, so we were just briefing our final waypoints. After Selleck and Makoa, we will be heading to Fig Tree, FGTRE, Foxtrot, Golf, Tango, Romeo, Echo. At that point, we are on our final, and our ILS will need to be tuned up. Our final approach course will be 7-9, and our ILS will need to be tuned to 111.7. And you can see on our chart what that missed approach looks like. It will be a climbing right-hand turn. I want you to get above 500, and then we're heading out to Alana for a hold above 5,000, where we would regroup to make a second approach contact ATC. Alright, that's going to do for the moment on the briefing. We're going to need to attend to our descent in 15 miles. The 707's autopilot system is a little less predictable and reliable to me than the Zibo 738, so I'm going to be a little cautious here with the VNAV If it doesn't seem to be responding quite as I like, we might do our descent using vertical speed instead. Alright, for our descent, we're going to tune us up here for a altitude of, I'm going to set it to 7,000, even though that's not the first indication, and we'll see if the VNav will accept that. Check how close we are. Oh, we had a modification. There we go. It's 7 miles. All right. Engaging VNav. And 6 miles will be the moment of truth. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin our descent into Hawaii. It's been a pleasure having you aboard today. If you are out of your seat, please take it. We're going to need your tray tables up, your seat backs upright, and your seat belts on. Once again, thank you for joining us, Pan American. We have reached our top of descent. The throttles have begun adjusting here, and I can see well, I thought I saw us beginning to descend. I'm going to give it a moment to see if we get some action, and then we'll consider switching over. Our auto throttle airspeed has recalibrated to a descent speed of Mach 0.74, so that appears to be functioning correctly. We're going to try cycling the VNav off and back on again. We have a vertical speed of negative 2,200 feet per minute set, but we've still got no motion at the moment. Alright, well, we are going to engage vertical speed. And there we have it. We are descending. The autopilot is holding the correct vertical speed. The auto throttles are coming back to idle to maintain an appropriate airspeed. Currently 146 miles from the airport. The map is starting to look a little busier. Turn off the waypoints, it'll be a little clearer what we are looking at. On the flight engineers panel, we have a number of low pressure gauges on the fuel tanks, as quite a few of them are empty. The 707 has a lot of tanks. It's interesting to look at how they are connected. As we are in descent, the engines will remain pretty much in idle unless we have some sort of held at altitude, but as long as we have a relatively continuous descent, we'll maintain idle for the remainder of the flight, with the exception of the amount of power needed under flaps for the approach, which is in the 707 quite substantial. The flaps can run down to 50 degrees, at which point quite a bit of throttle is needed to maintain that. The amount of fuel remaining on board is going to be a variable we consider as we set our VREF to decide what our landing speed and flap setting will need to be. Alright, I've checked our weight and our estimated weight at arrival. We're currently at about 207,000 pounds, including the fuel. Checking that with our performance tables provided by Wilson Aircraft for the 707-320. We have at flaps 40 a stall speed of about 99, and at full flaps 98. Seeing as we might be a little bit lighter, we're going to call it 100. So we have a stall speed of about 100. We have an indicated VTH, which I believe stands for threshold V speed. And for that weight, that speed, between 124 and 127 for our weight, so we're going to call it 125. So we're going to expect a VREF right now of full flaps, flaps 50, at 125 knots, crossing the threshold. Alright, we're not going to pull our ATIS from the radio at the moment. So we're getting it from the X-plane map. The current sky conditions are few clouds at 2,500 feet, few clouds at 4,800 feet, scattered clouds at 6,800 feet, visibility is more than 10, wind is from 0 to 0 at 11 knots. The altimeter setting is 2990. At this point I have to admit we completed most of the trip slightly off with an altimeter setting of 2991. I accidentally adjusted the first officers earlier and nudged it one wrong. So we're going to set the altimeter 2990. The FO agrees, and I will not mess with it. As you can see, courtesy of the Avatab plugin, our aircraft now populates on the approach chart. This is the star arrival Kaina 2, or Kaina 2. And you're just about to get to that kneel waypoint that we added manually because it was not in the FMC as a transition option. We'll soon be reaching 10,000 feet, so I'm going to adjust the viewpoint up here and turn on our landing lights. Though it's a little bit early. Now's a good moment to check these expected altitudes. So you have an interesting one here at Makoa, above 3,400 feet or below 3,700. Kind of sticks out there, a little more interesting than most of the others. And on the mode control panel, we're going to run down that altitude so that the flight director can continue to descend for us. And I'm going to run us down the whole way. To basically our landing altitude, or actually let's select our decision height. This is the ILS approach chart for runway 08 left. Decision altitude is 200 feet, so we'll need to have the runway in sight to safely proceed. See out the window, we are making our turn at Nell. Oh, no, we passed Nell. We're heading to Kaina. You might notice this altitude knob is not tremendously responsive. The knobs on the Michael Wilson 707 do not respond to the scroll wheel on your mouse, so you will need to click and drag. Some people like that, but I think once you get used to knobs that operate with the scroll wheel, it can be a little frustrating to go back to clicking them. Alright, we're going to look at the center pedestal. And check out overhead. Our nav radios are located overhead. So, we need to dial up 111.7. So we need the fine tuner. Almost there. It's a little picky where you click at. 111.7. Right. there's our final heading. And you can see we are just about on the plate. So it's going to be time to fly the aircraft soon. Looks like we're going to need to start slowing down and decelerating at Makoa. And at Fig Tree we'll begin our descent. We're shooting for a threshold speed of 125. So that 3-degree angle looks like we're looking for about 637 feet per minute descent rate. Ah, there we go, and we're out of the clouds. See the runway ahead of us, as well as Pearl Harbor, which we'll be flying right over. Alright, we're at Makoa. Check the airspeed. Again, our target is 125 knots with full flaps. This time we're going to set that auto brake. The landing lights are already on. And I've disconnected the autopilot. Throttles are idle. Select the spoiler flight detent. Elevate the nose to bring down the airspeed. And we'll begin extending flaps. Flaps 10. Altitude's ballooning briefly. Land on the taxiway. Flap 17. Gear
Flaps.
down.
Flaps.
Flaps 25. We're still in the flight detent. We are not lined up very nicely at this point. Spoiler retract. Spool up the engines. Very gently, flaps 35. You can see from the PAPI lights we're below expected glide slope for 3 degrees. Airspeed's good, we're at 130, we wanted 125. Now flaps 40. We're going to perform this landing at flaps 40. Bringing the throttles to idle. Keeping the nose up. Spoilers deployed. Touchdown, thrust reversers. And brakes. Below 80 knots, canceling thrust reverse. And welcome to Honolulu. We don't have a march order, so we're gonna do the marshalling ourselves. Ground power is connected. Our flight engineer to activate ground services. Ground power is now on bus. And we can begin shutting down the engines, either with the fuel switches here or on the pedestal behind the throttles.